Today is the first day of the Rocket Boy Festival 2014, sitting with Billy Rose, and appreciate you being here with us. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, always.
And now, as one of the Rocket Boys, I mean, you know, you guys you're still good friends with many of the Rocket Boys, correct?
Absolutely. We've always been friends from the first grade. That's when I first met them. Of course, Sonny and Roy Lee were friends before even starting school, but I met them in the first grade, and we attended junior high school, grade school, junior high school in Big Creek, 12 years all together, and then we separated, went our own ways after high school. Some went to college immediately, but eventually we all went to college.
And all became really successful. I mean, if I can, you know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but yes, I mean, all of you are in all different directions.
There were 4 engineers that came out of the 6 Rocket Boys. One business, actually 2 business. Jimmy Carroll became an insurance agent, and Roy Lee, a banker, successful real estate developer, has owned several companies. So, yeah, I think we've all, by any standard, certainly the standards of the people and where we grew up in Colwood, yeah, we're successful.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's go right back. What day were you born?
June 30, 1941, in Eastern Kentucky.
In Eastern Kentucky, okay.
Yes. It's coal country, similar to this area.
So so you were born in Kentucky, and you found your way, your family moved to follow a job, or what?
My father moved from, and mother moved, and I was 2 years old at that time, so 43. Moved to Colwood to seek employment at Carter Coal Company.
And now, as far as coal companies go, apparently Carter was on the front edge of it. I mean, doing really well.
They were doing very well, and they were interested in the Carters came from Carroll County, and they were interested in not only developing the coal that was in the ground, but they were interested in developing a community. They served their community well. The owners, Carter Coal Company, the people that owned the company served the community. First-class community, sidewalks, first-class stores. We had a Walmart before there ever was a Walmart, in my opinion. Yeah.
So you had a superstore.
Yeah, we had a superstore. 3 stores, actually 4 stores. 3 in Colwood, 1 in Coretta. Yeah.
And now, brothers and sisters. How many brothers and sisters do you have any brothers and sisters?
I still have brothers and sisters living. I am the oldest. I have 2 sisters that have died. There were 7 of us, if I can begin there. 2 sisters have died, so I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers that are still living.
Okay. And your parents, where were they from, or origins as far as again,
my mother and father came from Eastern Kentucky.
So they were raised in Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, they grew up during a terrible time in our country. Our country went through a recession. It never got to like it was in the 1930s, but they grew up during that time. Uneducated. Father never went to school. Mother had to quit when she was in the 4th grade. So and that was a handicap to all the children, in that my father and mother, once I got past the 4th grade, I knew more than my mother. My father never could read and write, but yet he was able to. He wasn't ignorant. He was smart, but he just was not educated. That's all.
Right. So what kept you in school? I mean, it follows, the trend follows, if your parents drop out, there's a higher chance that you drop out. But what made the difference with you when coming from that background?
I've often wondered that, and I've come to the conclusion by visiting with and speaking to students in front of teachers. I've come to the conclusion, a good teacher, and we had a lot of them in Colwood, a good teacher can sense a potential in a student. And I believe that all of my teachers saw that there was something about Billy Rose. He's going to be successful. Whatever he does, he's going to be successful. So I was encouraged by them, challenged by them to always do my best. I was not always good. Mr. Likens whipped my butt I don't know how many times with a paddle. I hope I can say that. But
Well, you can say it, you just can't do it.
okay. Can't do it now in schools.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
So, like I said, I was always encouraged. I was helped. My father had to quit work at an early age because of being hurt in the coal mine in Kentucky. So I was helped by the teachers. Mrs. Mahoney, for instance, in the 6th grade, allowed me to come to her house and do work for her, help buy stuff for my family. Mr. Likens, when you become a teenager, you're very sensitive. You become sensitive about how you're dressed. We didn't have good clothes, holes in my shoes, things like that. And there were times, because I was a good student, I needed to go and represent the school in competition in math and things like science. And Mr. Likens would take me to Welch and buy me suitable clothes so that I would look my best. And I've never forgotten that. I've never forgotten how wonderful he was. He allowed me to work in school, to pay for my lunch. So those kinds of things shown to a student by teachers, they leave a lasting impression on you. And these people have confidence in me, so I want to do my best. And we all felt that way. And I was not the only student that my teachers helped. And even in high school, my teachers helped me. Jimmy Carroll received help. Another friend of mine, Dean Crabtree. And all of these people, Dean Crabtree became a successful engineer, went to work Detroit, General Motors. He did wonderful things. Did wonderful things. All because of teachers. And that's why this story, the Rocket Boy story, is so special to us and to teachers. That's why it's embraced all over this country and even the world.
Well, tell me about high school. What's your favorite memory of high school?
Well, let's see. You know, the Rocket Boys are portrayed in the movie and the book as all of us being nerds. That was a little bit untrue.
Okay.
There's a lot untrue.
Well, that's why we're asking you the question. So you can set the record straight.
Roy Lee and I were on the football team. We were running backs. And so that influenced a great deal of my life too. The effect of Coach Merle Gaynor, who became one of the most successful, in fact he probably is the most successful coach, high school coach in West Virginia ever, because of what he did at Big Creek and later on at Bluefield, West Virginia. So his influence affected my life, especially in the area where I later left high school, went into military. The exercises, the discipline, all paid off dividends when I went into military, and I was successful there too. So Jimmy Carroll was a manager on the football team. He couldn't play because he had bad knees. Sherman Sears, excellent athlete, except he had polio. So 4 of us were a little bit more rounded, you might say, in terms of our activities. We like to dance. We like to hunt and fish, camp, things like that. So I think that aspect of our lives was overlooked. And I'm not complaining. In developing a character in both book and movies, you just can't put every aspect of their life. So, and if I'd written a book, I probably wouldn't written it the way Sonny did, but I would probably left out things that are important to the other boys. But that was one of the things that.
So you did wear the green and white on Friday nights.
Oh yeah,
because it's big now. I mean,
football is life for about 3-4 months.
Right.
in West Virginia, just like it is right now. It's important in the Beckley area, in the Bluefield area, where I live, Bluefield, Virginia. I live in Bluefield, Virginia. Football is very important to the life of people in the Appalachian region, not just West Virginia, but in Virginia, Kentucky.
And it's the Big Creek Owls, right?
Big Creek Owls.
And
School is no longer there.
Well, right,
They've been combined into the Jaeger, and Big Creek's been combined into the school, Riverview.
Riverview.
Yeah.
And you guys were one of the first area schools to have lights. Is that correct? Was that part of?
That's right.
My understanding.
That's right. That's why we're called the Big Creek Owls.
Because you played at night.
Played at night.
And everybody else played Saturday afternoon at
That's
that
right.
point in time.
And we actually had some day games. I can remember going to North Fork. For
Sure, when you travel.
When we traveled, and we played day, but most times we played at night. Beaver or Bluefield had lights. Mitchell Stadium, Richlands, Tazewell had lights. And early on, they probably didn't. But when I played, yeah, we had lights.
Because when you were growing up, I mean, the coal fields were booming. I mean, there was things going on.
We were highly supported up until about 1955, I just say. And I can remember my dad and uncle coming when I would visit my uncle. They would talk about this new machinery, a new method of removing coal from underground. One was a continuous miner, as opposed to drill and shoot and cutting machines and drills, and the other was a shuttle car, which carried the coal away from the miner, from the working face, to cars, and then later on belts. So it took about 100, let's say, to do a certain amount of coal, a certain number of tons, and then 10 people could do that. So beginning in 1955, the embracing of mechanization started, and by 1960, a lot of my friends who left Coalwood left and did not go to Big Creek. They moved to some other area because that's the beginning of the decline in the coal industry.
The first
with the embracing of mechanization.
The first big decline. The first really warning sign.
Yeah.
Things were changing.
You lose about 90% of your people, so that was the beginning of it.
Yeah, the machines. Now, after everybody knows, I mean, a lot of folks know your story up to high school. So tell us a little bit about after high school. Where did you go? What'd you do? And
I appreciate you asking that, because one of the themes in the movie, certainly not in the book because it's far more truthful in many areas of the Rocket Boys story. One of the themes in the movie is that if the Rocket Boys could win this National Science Fair, they could go to college, full scholarship. That was absolutely false. I don't have any appreciation at all for them taking that approach, because none of us got a full ride. The one who got the most opportunities in terms of scholarship was Quentin, and he got $300. That bought a lot then, but it would hardly buy you 2 or 3 books now.
Right.
So I, as several of us did, Jimmy Carroll and I left and went to the Air Force. I knew that somehow, some way, I was going to find a way to become an engineer. That's what I wanted to be. So I said, all right, there's no point in laying around here doing nothing, being a burden on my mom and dad, who certainly couldn't afford to feed another mouth. I was doing them a favor by leaving. So 4 days after graduation, I was in the Air Force. And
where were you stationed? Where did you leave?
Basic in Lackland, then went to Keesler Air Force Base, got a 9 months of training in airborne radar and radio. I was going to maintain those systems. Wound up at K.I. Sawyer Air Force Base. I wish I'd have wore my SAC hat, my Strategic Air Command hat. It doesn't go with this coat, though. So I wound up there and went on a job training for about 3 months, and then it was decided that they needed a crew of us to go and learn how to maintain missiles. So I went to Chanute Air Force Base, and then followed up by Wright Pat Air Force Base, and spent another 9 months. So my first 2 years I was in training.
Mm-hmm.
Learned how to maintain the guidance and all the systems. I was a missile systems analyst on the Hound Dog missile that flew on the wing of the B-52 bomber. And by the way, the B-52 bombers are still flying today.
Mm-hmm.
The missile I worked on was the predecessor of the cruise missile, and we all know what that does now. That missile originally was intended to be launched from a bomber, the B-52. But now it's launched, the cruise missiles are launched, as we know, from everywhere. Submarines, airplanes, silos. So I was in on some of the early technology that our government used to defend our country as a part of the Strategic Air Command. While in the Air Force, I worked with technical representatives from a company called Autonetics, who was a subcontractor to Rockwell Corporation, and they developed and maintained the guidance system. And an engineer there told me that I had an ability that I ought to go to school and become an engineer. Well, that's what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how. I didn't know how to get the money to go to college. It just so happened, and this is the scary thing about life. There are times and places that you can be there for an instant and see it or hear it and know it, and if you had missed that opportunity, it can change your life entirely. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, I just happened to be home during the day because I was in a crisis like that. We were on alert, 12 on, 12 off. So being married with child, I was normally home during the day, but I had to go in that night. I just happened to see a program on TV, the Art Linkletter show. It was a talk show,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a government official there from the education department. And I was just, it's scary. I was going out the door, and he said the Congress had just passed the National Student Defense Loan. Anybody who wanted to go to college could borrow money, not have to pay it back, any of it back, until they graduated. I said, that's my ticket.
There you go.
That's my ticket to my future.
Mm-hmm.
So I made up my mind that I would study, do well in math and science on my ACT tests, and so I studied for a year. And I had plenty of time. Took my ACT tests. I did well in all areas except English. I always had problems with English, and that's the way it is with technical people. It seems,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
except for Quentin, by the way. He was always
Quentin excelled in everything, it
Yeah,
seems.
he's excellent in everything. So I was finally accepted by WVU, and that was a wrestling match too. The admissions people at WVU, son, essentially, this is their, I'm paraphrasing their letters. You've been out of school 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
You will be. You're married, have a child. You have too much baggage. We don't believe you will be a successful engineering student at WVU.
Wow.
Oh, that ticked me off. I
Right.
got so mad.
Motivation, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was highly motivated. I got in touch with Senator Robert C. Byrd
Yeah.
and Congresswoman Elizabeth Key
Mm-hmm.
from our area,
Yeah,
McDowell County.
right.
Wrote them a letter and told them that I was being denied. Will be a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly after that, I got another letter from WVU.
With a different
Saying-
attitude?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
I got, and I'm not bragging.
But
or
that's part of
putting
the
down-
story.
That's yeah. It's perseverance,
Yeah.
patience, and perseverance. That gets you where you want to be. You just can't quit.
And my
So
understanding.
I got a letter saying that I had been accepted in the School of Electrical Engineering, and I would receive the National Student Defense Loan. I was granted some money to help buy books, and they would help me find a job. So I was in the door.
There you
and
go.
all I had to do was perform, and I did.
You mentioned at that time you were married and had one child.
Yeah.
Now, who did you marry and how many children did you have?
I married
Yeah.
Rosemary Barber
Uh-huh.
from Welch, West Virginia.
Oh,
We had one child.
girl from the big city.
Yeah,
Welch.
yes.
From the big city compared
Well,
to Coldwood.
it was the county seat.
It was, right.
County seat.
Right.
Yeah, they had courthouse, library, and everything.
Everything. And your wife was there.
And Rosemary, yeah.
Yeah, Rosemary. Great.
She lived on Tom's Mountain, where my uncle leased a farm from the top of the mountain, and I would go up there and help him hoe corn and slop the hogs and things like that. She saw me going up and down the road with my uncle in his truck, and my aunt told me this later, that she came up there one day and wanted to go pick blackberries on Uncle Frank's farm. So Annie said, "Oh, Billy knows where all the good blackberry patches are." So I led her and her friends out there to pick blackberries. So back in those times, there was a song written by Fats Domino, I think.
Mhm.
I think. I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill.
Yeah, there you go. And
Well,
so
I
there
found
you
my
go.
thrill in a blackberry patch.
Okay, how many children did you have?
One child,
One?
Sherry Ann.
Uh-huh.
She's deceased.
Uh-huh.
She died at an early age.
But you have grandchildren and great-grandchildren
I have
now.
grandchildren and great-grandchildren. I have 3 grandchildren. Adam, or the first Susan, which we raised,
Mhm.
and Adam and Christian. I have 3 great-grandchildren. Susie's little boy, I have become his babysitter.
Uh-huh.
I have had wonderful, challenging, and rewarding jobs throughout my career, but these last 4 years, taking care of that little boy has surpassed all that. I'm so pleased to be the person taking care of that little boy. I've come to love him as probably more than a child, I guess. He is very, very special to me. Hi, Austin.
Now tell us a little bit about when the movie came out. It's been about 15 years ago now. How did your family react? When the success of Rocket Boys came, how did the family react? I mean, or folks that you were with?
When the book came out in '98, I don't believe my family knew a whole lot about it. I wasn't real. I didn't get on the phone to hey
go buy this book, right?
Do you remember? Because they weren't that involved in it.
Right.
I was the oldest. My brother was 4 years younger than me, and he was just too young to be involved in anything like that. We didn't have newspapers. Of course, we didn't have TV, no telephone, so they didn't know anything about this. So not until the movie came out was there any and me writing my autobiography that they were even aware of it. So when the movie came out, their first reaction was, "Why weren't you included in the movie?" Yeah, why weren't you included? So I said, I had already became a Christian by then, and I knew that God's in control of everything, even my life, every day, every minute. So I don't look a gift horse in the mouth, and I concluded that if I were included in that movie, I probably would get the big head and wouldn't be able to handle it. So
God gave you what you could handle.
God gave me all that I could handle. Yes.
Well, good.
It's enough, and I praise Him.
Well, that's
And I thank Sonny for writing the story, remembering it, and this has been a blessing.
It has.
This has been a blessing. Thank you, Lord.
Well, now tell us, as far as we're here at the Rocket Boys Festival, and we invite you guys up, and we appreciate you coming and being here. You've had 2. This is the 3rd one here in Beckley. Memories about the first 2. I mean, are you pleased with what you're seeing here as the Rocket Boy Festival goes on?
I am absolutely pleased. The folks here have made us feel like family. the the venue here has certain aspects that that Colwood didn't have in terms of being able to more easily care for people who are in the area. So that's a positive aspect. We miss going to Colwood. We'll never forget the wonderful times we were. This is the 16th year,
Mm-hmm.
so we were 13 years down there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, and I, you know how I feel about your involvement in this, and I'll just publicly praise you for
thank
your dedication. Every week get emails from Scott saying we're having a meeting, and he does this throughout the year.
Mhm.
It's never out of your mind. It's
No.
never out of your mind.
It's a 12-month process to
It
do these
sure
3
is.
days.
And you do it exceptionally well.
Thank you.
And whoever you work for, whatever your other endeavors
The American
are,
Red Cross.
the American Red Cross, I'm sure you do an outstanding job
Well,
there
thank
too, because that's just your nature.
Well,
Attention to detail. When we had the first one, and if you go back through the emails, we were all very concerned about certain things.
Mhm.
And but now I don't send you email. I know that everything will be taken care of, and it'll be just the way we need it to be.
Well, the city of Beckley and the Raleigh County folks have really opened their hearts and up to you guys, and of course you don't disappoint anyone. You come and you're a part of our family here, and we're just glad to be a small part of the story. Getting in, and the exhibition coal mine's done a great job as
Yes.
far as having everything here. I mean, if you look at Rockaboys the book, I mean, it's about looking to the stars, and you have a coal mine there, and you launch rockets. This is the only venue that I know of that in West Virginia that has a planetarium, a coal mine, and a place to shoot rockets off. It's like it was designed to promote that book,
Yeah.
and so it's seems to
like-
be really well.
Colwood being picked up, transplanted to the big city.
And we always invite everybody from Colwood to come and be a part of it.
I know
because
you
we that's a very strong concern of ours. I mean, we're just caretakers at this point, is how we look at it, and we're caretakers of the festival. And
If I could say
Sure.
something, there are some people who are disappointed that we don't continue to go down there, and they ask why. And I explain to them this way. We are 70-year-old plus, all of us. The people who put on the activities and organized it in Colwood are older than we are.
we're your parents. And
Yeah, older than, yeah, they could have been our parents, that's how old they are. And they no longer physically can do it. It's a daunting task to do what needs to be done, to take care of all the people that come in there. I can remember times where you would have 10 buses, 10 charter buses, and then maybe 20 school buses. Somebody has to take care of all those things. Get people to come in there, provide vendors for people to eat, something to eat. So it's a daunting task, and they were no longer able to do it. And they said essentially that they couldn't do it any longer, and we were afraid. I was praying, hoping and praying that someone in the state, some organization, some city would say, all right. And I believe that as soon as you learned, as soon as you learned it, the winds started to turn the windmill of adopting the Rocket Boy Festival.
well, it was strange. I lost sleep for 2 nights in a row thinking that festival the story wouldn't be continued, and I don't normally lose sleep like that. And I thought, oh, this is important. And so I made a phone call, and it bang, 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 and everybody agreed and said, hey, we need to do this, this, and this, and we made sure that got done. And the rest of this is history. So I was lucky enough to go out and eat dinner with 3 of the Rocket Boys last night, and you guys just stopped the restaurant in its tracks. I mean, have you always been that way? I mean, with y'all together, I mean, there's pictures taken, autographs, everything's going on, but nobody's getting waited on it in the restaurant because they all want to be where the party is, and that's with you guys. Has it always been that way?
When the 3 of us get together, even 2 of us, there's a certain chemistry, flow between the 3 of us, and it sort of gets contagious, and the people around us get involved in it, and before long, it's one big party.
It is one big party. I mean, you took a full-blown restaurant with customers everywhere and stopped it last night. I mean, it was just, I mean, it was just pictures and autographs, but the restaurant business stopped. And it
And
was
I don't
amazing.
believe anybody was upset about it.
No, I don't think,
I
no.
looked around, there was a table about 10 men, maybe having a meeting normally, if I would have been a part of those, under different circumstances, I would have complained about,
Yeah.
especially if I were real hungry.
Because
But
they had the way
they
to
were
look.
just enjoying it. It was
Yeah.
like, it was a,
I saw everybody put the cooks out, and the cooks may have came later. I don't know.
he did.
That's
He did come out later.
Well, see, there you
We were
go.
getting into the car and he came out.
Yeah,
and he-
stop the cooking going on.
Yeah, yeah,
Well-
he did.
Well, I appreciate you coming to the Rocket Boys Festival, being part of that, and we have school buses pulling up, so I know that there's some folks out there ready to see you. Thank you very much. Are there anything that I've missed that you want to make sure for the record?
I just want to say that it's important that this continues, because we're going to get a lot of 8th graders. That's a time in your life where you can influence someone, and over the last few years, I get emails all the time from kids that have where I've attended schools and spoken to them, and they've come to Rocket Boy festivals in Colwood, and they hear what they meet us in person, and they hear what we have to say, how important education is. So that's the thing I would like to leave you with, is the importance, the influence that we may have on the life of a young child, young man or woman, in pursuing a college, going on and making their lives better the way the Rocket Boys did.
Well, fantastic, Billy. Appreciate it. Rocket Boys, a great story, and oh, by the way, they're great people too. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.